Welcome to the Profitable Farmer Podcast, where it's all about increasing the profitability of your farm by working smarter, not harder.
G'day, and once again, welcome to Profitable Farmer. In this webinar, I'm delighted to call on and speak with a great mate of mine who finds himself in Tokyo amidst COVID-19 as an elite trainer to the Rico Black Rams, Japanese top rugby team. Ricky Dumigan may be known to some of you, but he's a wonderful bloke who has had an extensive career already in the military and now in rugby. He's run his own executive development and coaching company in Sydney. And I'm delighted to invite Ricky to join us. We've got so much to learn from Ricky's experience in high achievement, in leadership, both in military and business and sport. And look forward to sharing some of those learnings with you. So Ricky, welcome to Profitable Farmer.
Thank you, mate. Thank you so much for having me on board. Look forward to the chat.
So just to kick us off, you find yourself in Tokyo. I understand the population of Tokyo is something like the population of Australia. How has a small town country boy from Australia handled COVID-19 in Tokyo?
Yeah, it's been a pretty crazy time, hasn't it, worldwide? But news for us came. It's almost March, back to March now. We're in competition here playing. The girls' school had just started online, so we'd had a 2-week period where we were sort of unknown what was happening, and then, mate, we find ourselves 3 months of isolation pretty much. So between many Zoom lessons for the girls for online and all being confined in our small little Japanese house here, that was just, I think, getting back to routine and structure was a big thing for us, and creating some discipline around that. So, getting up of a morning and doing some exercise, making sure everyone had a routine, and getting through that. Probably, well, it's nice now because the girls have come into summer holiday, so and the restrictions have all been lifted here. So we've actually starting to warm up. So time to get out and explore a few more things of Japan we haven't seen.
Thanks, Ricky. What are some silver linings for you as a family on the other side of COVID-19? Has there been some good things to come from it?
Yeah, certainly, mate. I think having more time together has been super. Being able to really support the girls in their school. Difficult, and Steph works full time at the school now too, so she was online with her classes. So mate, I really enjoyed that actually. I enjoyed just being here as a support element for them, and didn't really have to do. I did a little bit of planning for our next season that's coming up, and just being together was super. And I say that honestly, but obviously there were some difficult times, but we just really enjoyed being together and learned how to be aware of everyone's space, and everyone needs their own time sometimes, and so it was great. It was really good just for that fact, mate, family time, which is so important.
Yeah, I agree, Ricky. I think for us it's been wonderful to have extra time morning and afternoon, and to be more actively involved in our kids' development, to have them on the farm here and to have them more actively engaged in the farm has been fantastic. And so it's nice to hear how that's played out for you in a very different environment. But I think there's some lessons like that all around the world for a lot of us about just how to slow down and really appreciate the finer things and perhaps the simpler things in life.
Yeah, correct. And mate, we did that too. We had to allow certain screen time, family time, like playing board games, card games. Being creative, getting outside. And we've got a small little backyard here, which we're quite fortunate. So, we've got tomatoes and lettuces growing. So yeah, getting out and doing a few little different things that we probably normally do together as a group.
Perfect. Ricky, I first met you in Wagga when you were a development officer for Brumbies rugby. Then you moved to Melbourne Rebels, where you're the strength and conditioning officer or the fitness conditioning officer for the Melbourne Rebels. And now you find yourself leading as the skills and development coach to the elite rugby team in Japan, the Rico Rams. How's your role now, mate? Do you mind just sharing and describing your role and your responsibility to the Rico Rams? And also, what's it like coaching and leading a Japanese team, perhaps relative to an Australian team?
Yeah, well, mate, the role for me, so, yeah, basically I'm in charge of all the skills. So, catch, pass, tackle, kicking. It's a big bubble, and there's so many different skills in that to cover. And then the other aspect of that with the development side is a program that was started running. It's quite different up here. We have a big squad, so it's not like Super Rugby squads in Australia, where you've got 25, 30 players, or 35. We've got 55 up here. So the company boys, so some of the boys work for the company, work for Rico, and some boys are just professional. So the development program we've created for that is all of our young professionals and company boys for their first 3 years that they come to Rico Rugby. We've created an off-field program for them. So we look at things like characteristics of high-performing teams, effective communication. We're doing some goal setting, a little bit of game analysis in that, but it's more off-field development for those younger guys. So it's been a wonderful challenge, and Japanese culture is just totally different to us. There's lots of foreign coaches up here that they bring in, I suppose, for expertise. But yeah, the language barrier is obviously quite difficult. We're really fortunate. We have translators with us all the time. But there's times, where because of our large group of the squad, we might have 30 guys on the field. The remainder might be with me doing a skill set. But the two translators are out on the field with the other two coaches running the attack and defence, and so I'm on my own. So you've had to learn pretty quickly. It's been almost jump in the deep end and learn to swim. So early on, we get one Japanese lesson a week when we first came. But after our first season, I stayed up here because the girls are at international school. So while we're on the break, they're in their schooling period. So I thought, right, I'll condense my 40 Japanese lessons into 8 weeks. I'll just go every day for the 8 weeks. So it was probably the best thing I did, because really fully immersed in it, and then still doing a little bit of work with the company boys, but the translators are on their holidays as well. So if they're running off doing something in a different direction, I had to blow a whistle to come back and go, right, what have I said? But understanding their culture as well. They're very, very, very respectful. They're well disciplined. In fact, you almost have to try and teach them to switch off sometimes. And that's been a big challenge with the young guys coming through as well. Their mindset is almost more is better. Whereas sometimes, yes, that can be a positive, but then there's also, we've got to look at quality over quantity. So it's ever evolving, giving them tools in their toolkit to be able to do that, mate. They come out of university into our program, and some of the stories you hear from the universities, the boys coming through, it's just like, it's extremely hard to fathom. You're training 6 nights a week for 4 hours, and they go to bed at midnight, and before they go to bed, they've got to eat one of the lads was telling me they had to eat so much rice to keep their body weight up and all this sort of stuff. It was just, it's a bit of an old school mindset, but I think there's some wonderful learnings in that as well, and they work hard, probably you respect that, company boys go to work through the day and then come to training in the afternoon, and they've got to give 100% that you'd expect or you want them to give. And our professional blokes might have had a gym in the morning, they go home, afternoon sleep or treatment, and then they're out in the field. But boys are travelling in their suits, jumping on a busy train, sitting in the office, meetings, coming home, and then you're expecting them to do the same. So, yeah, mate, it's a really, really different setup, but it's been enjoyable.
What a wonderful experience, Ricky. You've been up there a few years now. What really interests me in what you just said is that one of the things you've really focused on in that pursuit of high achievement is as much off the paddock, helping your players set goals and explore different ways and different mindsets, if you like, so that they can perform more effectively as a united team on the paddock. Would you mind explaining what it is that you're doing off the paddock with them in order to build them up as team contributors?
Yeah, a big thing here, mate, is that it's almost a rank structure. The older players, if they tell the younger players to do something, they'll do it. Certainly, there was one thing we tried to change because we had a couple of young guys that came through who almost a little bit Westernized in their thought process of that, going, I just want to be a professional. I want to play for Japan, and my level's up here, and I expect you to be up here as well. So they didn't really buy into it's called Kenpai Senpai. So that was really exciting because the off-field program that we sort of changed in with that, and it's almost an emerging leaders program. These young guys coming through to say, well, hey lads, in 10 years' time, if you're still playing rugby here with Rico, with us, then you're the future captains, you're the future club captains, decision makers in the leadership group. So we created a program that we've looked at things like what is goal setting, what's effective communication, what are the characteristics of a high-performing team, and it's been interesting to see what their thoughts are on that. Where from what my thoughts have been, being in a high-performing team in the army, and playing rugby myself in winning teams, seeing winning cultures inside businesses that I've worked with, and the different thoughts that they have, what they thought considered to be high performance. So we've changed a little bit of their mindset in that, and we're seeing that now, which is really great. Like after 2 years, it's been a development with them. So I've got young guys who, they really stand up, and if our standards aren't what we deem to be acceptable out on field, then I've got some young guys asking questions to some of the senior players, and that's been a real positive because I think it's brought us all closer together, and certainly put us on a page where everyone's respected evenly. Everyone's got something to contribute to the group, and sometimes it's the youngest member that might have the best idea. And then off field with that, we've done some work out in the community with these guys. So got them involved. The parkrun started here. Parkrun in Australia is massive now, I think, and it started here in Tokyo. And the first one was just on the river, right next to our field. So we got the boys out in their Rico gear and were stewards for the course, and it was just in a bit of recognition they put up on Facebook. Thank you for the boys, and it's nice for our guys to go down and in that, we've got some people coming to our games from the parkrun, and many in foreigners that live in around our area as well. We've created friends from that. So I see them at the games, and thanks for coming. And I see you at the park run on Saturday, before we travel to game or whatever. So there's been a real balance, and we're seeing some really good reward from that now.
Wonderful, Ricky. Just reflecting on that insight for me, and perhaps for the benefit of our farming families listening, I love that you think about your junior team members' 10-year journey, and if they are to be with you or not, that you're thinking about how you can advance their career and build them up as individuals and help them pursue personal goals and high achievement and build out leadership skills whilst they're fulfilling their role with you. And so for our farming family listeners, just to check in, to what degree are you doing that with your team members? Are you focusing on their goals, their aspirations, their development with you into a leadership role in your property long term? I think there's a lot to be learned. And as we go into this conversation, how to build high performing teams, how to build people up to be at their best, how to help people be resilient, are all really important leadership questions. And this is why I wanted to speak with Ricky. Perhaps expanding this out a bit further, Ricky, you've trained, perhaps from a fitness and leadership perspective, elite rugby teams across Australia, rugby league and rugby union, now in Japan. You've done similar with elite military teams across the Australian Army. You've taken quite a few corporate executive teams into the bush, into the Blue Mountains, into remote locations for retreats. 2 questions for you, mate. What are some of the common themes that you see when you look at those elite teams that truly set them apart in terms of high achievement? That's the first question. The second is, how do you arrive to them and command respect? Because I see you do that incredibly well. You turn up to them and to these retreats and claim a leadership position and take these people on pretty profound journeys. I'm just keen for you to sort of share with us how you do that as a coach, and how you turn up to lead some of these high performing teams. So can you just explore that with me?
Yeah, right. Good questions, mate. The first one, I think, created a workshop, 6 characteristics of high performing teams. And for me, it's trust and respect, effective communication, honesty, and then review and develop. So trust is earned, respect is earned, not given. We delve into a lot of that. The communication stuff, I think, is a big thing within teams. And my concept came from a military background. But once I started working in a corporate sector, I found that there was a real common theme with it. And it's almost like shortening the decision-making cycle. So for me, understanding what my boss and my boss's boss wants. So it's almost 2 levels up. So they are giving the communication tool on the map of where the business wants to head, where the team wants to head, so that you, as a decision maker on the field or out in the paddock, can make that decision with confidence, knowing that you're moving forward because you understand what your boss and your boss's boss wants. And that in a team aspect, that was massive for me in that corporate space. So did some work with Channel 7, and we found this a big thing. So with sales, so guys out in the sales field who were just constantly going to businesses looking to go get airtime. And so Ben Robert-Smith, who the VC winner, I was fortunate. I played rugby with Ben while we were in the army, and he was the head of Channel 7 in Queensland. And I said, so mate, have you given your detail? Where's the map? Where do you want to head Channel 7 with it? So we need to go regionally. We went all around Queensland to do it. So I said, as soon as you tell me your plan, you understand, and then the bosses of each respective station, okay, cool, we need to get them on the one page, and then your sales team. And so, because they're the decision makers, they're out in the field, they're the ones that make the decision. That bottom line of the business is truly effective on these guys. And so if you're empowering them with the right tools and the understanding of where the direction of the company is going, or the business is going, or the team is going, then they are empowered to make the decision. And yeah, there's going to be times where sometimes people make bad decisions, but they've got to be learnings rather than being a harsh dealing, as long as they learn from it. And so mate, that's a big thing. I think understanding where the direction of where you want to head and getting everyone on that same page, and with that builds the trust and respect, and then you're constantly reviewing and developing where you want to head. No plan survives a dynamic environment, and so we've got to be able to adapt and continually moving.
So, Ricky, you speak really strongly to the importance of having a really clear common goal, a really strong vision as a leader, and then with that, a really strong structure across your team so that people are clear on where they fit into that hierarchy that you spoke of, so that the people 2 levels down can be clear on what is expected of them 2 levels up. And then the communication framework that sits around that to support decision making. It's so consistent, I guess, with the model that we're helping our farming clients build out for their farming teams. And it's really interesting to hear that it's similar at the executive level in corporate, but that also it's consistent with, I guess, your learnings in elite sport as well.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. And I think, even I had 6 months off there at a stage. I was playing rugby down the South Coast. I was milking cows, actually. So I was probably lowest in the food chain on quite a large family dairy. So understanding what John wanted, and for him to empower me to be able to make those decisions early morning when you're on your own, mate, and getting done. So I think, if you can take some takings out of that, then in the agricultural space, I think there's very similarities, mate, and
principles
want to be
absolutely apply, don't they?
Yeah.
Military context, Ricky, you've I guess started your career, as I understand, as a fitness and conditioning specialist to the Army and to elite special force teams within the Army. Are there common threads even there about how to structure teams and how to set up the communication frameworks as a leader to try and drive towards quick decision making and high performance? Is it equally similar in the military?
Totally, mate. I knew exactly. Me as a corporal, I had a team underneath me. I knew what my sergeant and what my warrant officer, all the way up to, the whole battalion knew what the plan was, what the mission was, and it was just communicated top of the chain, bottom of the chain, and in reverse as well. So you knew your roles and responsibilities. You knew exactly your left and right of arc. You knew actions on this happening. This is plan B. What are my roles and responsibilities in plan B? Actions that this happens in plan B. What are my roles and responsibilities in plan C? And that is just rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed across, a number of different elements. We did it. One of the ones instructing hand-to-hand combat was you get people facing away. There's 5 different scenarios coming up. We've rehearsed all those scenarios for goodness knows how long. You've got your eyes closed, you're facing away. turn and go, you don't know what scenario is coming at you, but you know there's 1 to 5, but you've just rehearsed them. So yeah, mate, there's so much in it, I think. Yeah.
So interesting, Ricky. I wonder if tactical response has a place for our farming community, given the season that's coming at them. That's another conversation, perhaps. Bringing all of that back to your role now, leading a Japanese elite rugby team, and having to do that through, I know you've got a really strong grasp on the language now, but having to do that at least to some degree through translators. Can you just speak to the importance of accurate and clear communication and how you go about as a leader to that team, really working on the art of being clear and concise and strong in how you arrive to your people?
Yeah, mate, that's probably be the biggest learning for me up here. I think with the communication, sometimes we'd say too much. So less is better here. And because my instruction to players goes through the translator through to the players, question asked back through the translator to me, certainly now you can pick up a few quick words. So your time spent instructing rather than actually doing is reduced. But I think for me, I've just been able to understand exactly what detail I'm after, and so just use keywords with that. Simplify your sentences a lot more. And the biggest thing I have to get used to, actually, because it's back to front here. So we're subject, verb, object, subject, object, verb, I think, in our structure of our sentence. It's the opposite here. So, tomorrow we're going to go and do this. We're going to do this tomorrow. That's at the end. So it's so you had to really be really respectful of how. Respectful is probably not the key word, but just understand exactly what you wanted to say, and then how you're going to structure it. So you're constantly thinking for that, for it to be just clear, so they get the detail out.
I see your style of communication having changed, knowing you really well over the years. I see you communicating differently now a little to how you used to. When you arrive, let's hypothetically you arrive back to an elite Australian rugby team, how would you communicate differently to them now, perhaps compared to 3 years ago, Ricky?
3 years ago, I was just passion, raw passion, and probably missed detail. So I was just speaking from the heart a lot of the times, and that. I think that's infectious. But being able to do that now with clarity of detail has made it. I think would make a huge difference. I actually look forward to that challenge of potentially going back and coaching in English, because I think this period here has really helped that. And probably slowing down so that you do get the detail. You can still put passion in your communication when you do that, rather than just being raw and out there with it. I'd slow down the detail. You can still talk, as I said, with the passion to do it, and understanding more detail around now where you want to head, exactly what you're after. And when I first started doing some of the corporate stuff, it was just raw for me because I hadn't really done it. I was just speaking from experiences and of what I'd done, and almost actually I found it difficult because I used to think, well, why did people not get it? Why are you not getting that? And for them, it wasn't clear. It wasn't, the detail wasn't there. They understood the passion that you were sharing, and I used to always tell my story on mindset, mate, which from my Kokoda run, and then you'd always get these looks of, oh wow, that's amazing. I don't think I could ever do something like that. But now I could get people. We could get a group and do that. because teach them what the detail is and how we can do it. And yeah.
Thanks, Ricky. So, perfect segue. Just to share a bit more of Ricky's story. Over the years, Ricky has led over 20 teams of sport, military, and corporate teams on Kokoda Trail. More recently, he set himself the challenge, raising money for Mates for Mates, fallen soldiers. I think that's right, isn't it?
Yeah, mate. Yeah. Wounded, injured, and ill. Yeah.
Yeah. To run the Kokoda in less than 30 hours and managed to do it in 29. Now, the amazing thing about Ricky's story is that in doing that, and perhaps I think, Ricky, unbeknownst to you at the time, you gave yourself a heart attack doing it. I'd like you to share the story of how you actually found out that happened. But I'd love to just shift gears, if we could, mate, and move the conversation more into mindset, because to lead over 20 teams on Kokoda, to make that commitment to run it in under 30 hours and achieve that. And we'll speak to some of the other personal and life challenges that you've completed since then. I'm keen to explore with you what it takes to get in the headspace to commit to that and to complete at it and to stick at it even when the chips are down. So with that, would you mind sharing your story about running Kokoda and setting that challenge and how that played out for you?
Yeah, mate. So I'd finished playing rugby, still keeping relatively fit, and I didn't really have a goal, to tell you the truth, to work towards. I was inspired by a young fellow who had lost his legs in Afghanistan to an IED blast. He came through our doors at Mates for Mates. We were actually doing a big fundraising paddled from Sydney to Brisbane, and I met Curtis. He had a goal then. He wanted to go to the Paralympics. And he'd done a lot of paddling in his early days at high school in New Zealand before coming back to Australia. So I thought, what can I do? And I thought, what do I do, Kokoda? But I'll run it and I'll do it as a fundraiser so I can support him to send him to Rio and his family. And so then, mate, that was the goal. I had a goal, and then it was right. Okay, I need to reverse engineer this process and map out the small steps that I need to go forward to achieve this. So I was lucky that I'd trekked Kokoda a number of times. So I knew the villages, worked out a timeline roughly of where I wanted to be or where I had to be. Certain villages along the way, I had a support from two of the local boys who had done been our porters on the majority of our treks, helped me with food drops along the way, along the track. So yeah, there was a lot of planning involved with it. And then on top of that, then obviously putting myself together a program to be able to physically do it. So, mate, I set off, left at 5, I think it was 4:30 in the morning. I started, and I went from Owers Corner back to Kokoda. So last minute, I had a fellow who was really keen to join me, actually. And so he said, mate, I can contribute significantly with fundraising as well. And that enticement was great because we had a target 50,000 to raise. And so he joined me. I was reluctant because then I thought, and when I did the run in the middle of the night, Fletch, this fellow that came with me, he had a fall and hurt his back. So I had to carry him through to sunlight, and he stayed at a village, and I went through all these mixed emotions of going, that's all right, we've done it, we'll just do it anyway. It's we had to have a plan B, something that we can't deal with, and so it's something that we can't worry about because it's happened. We just need to continue on, and we'll just finish it. I'd had a tracker going, which was a live Mountain Designs sponsored, and so from a watch, which was, you could watch the live tracker to see where I was. And mate, came to the morning, I sat with Fletch, sunlight was just coming up, and I think it was about the same 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. 9 o'clock was the cut-off time that I had to be at Kokoda, and the village I was at, normally it's about a day, and we do that village in 2 days, get to that village on day 2 if you're just doing a normal 7-day trek. And so I said to Fletch, mate, I've got to go. I've got to do this. I'll go and I'll come back and get you when you're ready. Just walk, with your time. And Ivan, a local porter boy, stayed with Fletch and walked with him. And I took off. And I did it in just over 3 hours from the village down to Kokoda. So it was a massive big descent, one river crossing, another massive big descent, and then I was sort of on the flat coming into Kokoda village. And Matt, I could take you and any farmer that wants to come, we'll organise a trek, but I could walk you to the exact spot that had happened. And my legs buckled underneath me, and Matt, I lost control of bodily functions there for a little bit, but I could see the arches of Kokoda, and I kept going. Yeah, it's sort of it's not very nice, but yeah, things coming out both ends, throwing up, and ended up finishing. I just crashed at the arches. There was another trekking group starting actually, and I knew their doctor, Dr. Tom, and he knew I was doing the run. So he just did a little self-assessment on me, gave me some painkillers because my feet were killing me, and I sat down for about an hour. I was going to walk back and get Fletch, and then he was coming, so I was walking down. But mate, the thing from it was, about 2 weeks later, we went back with a Men of League trip and just did a normal trek. So we did it in 8 days, and then I was fortunate enough, I was doing some work with Nova Radio in Brisbane, and themselves with Channel 7, we're doing Channel 9 actually, we're doing a fundraiser for Young Care, and the challenge was the New York Marathon. So I was training those guys, and we were going to push a young fellow in a wheelchair for the duration of the marathon. And so they hit me up and said, Ricky, we a couple of radio jocks and Andrew Lofthouse was the Channel 9 newsreader. Said, oh, mate, we need you to come and help us. We don't think we can do this. And so I ended up doing it with them. And, it's another story, logistic reasons, mate, didn't work out. So I had to do the first half and then meet them before we could rotate through on the wheelchair with Tim from Young Care. I came back from that, and I was flat. I was obviously fatigued. A good friend of mine was the head of cardiology in the Royal Brisbane Hospital. He said, Ricky, have you downloaded your detail on your watch and everything from Mountain Design? I said, no, I haven't. And he went through my detail on from the run on Kokoda, and he's a keen adventure racer himself, so really fit chap and into that sort of sports science things as well. And he said, holy heck, mate, you're lucky. You are so lucky. He showed me the detail, and he said, mate, you've had a mild heart attack when you've done this. And I said, what? And he said, mate, your heart rate for the last part of it, my heart rate was sitting up in the high 180s, and I'd held it for probably, I think it was the last 45 minutes or close to an hour. And then obviously when I had that little turn, it dropped down to like about 50 or something. And then spikes of 50 and then bounced to 60, boom, 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 then went back up to the high 170s again. So Mate, that was it. But the big learning from it, mate, was I trained myself so well mentally that I was just there. Mentally, I'd push myself above and beyond what my body could go. It's not a good thing, obviously, but it does show, and to this day, and I tell the girls this all the time, your body can do so much more than what your head tells you. And you can achieve so much more than what your head tells you. And so, this is a computer. You just got to reprogram it. When you can do that and tap into it, mate, we can all achieve some marvelous things.
Thanks, Ricky. So it is an amazing story, and I think irrespective of the fact that you, by accident, had that incident on Kokoda, you absolutely have an ability to prepare and pursue significant outcomes at an elite level, be it running Kokoda, be it taking that team for what I think was a 25-day ocean kayak from Sydney to Brisbane, again, with many fallen soldiers.
Yeah.
That New York Marathon, pushing that young man for half of the marathon, a matter of weeks after Kokoda. My question to you is how do you train that? You've got an ability to push through and to really own the mental attitude needed to achieve at an elite level. What advice do you have for others that are training for something or needing to master that skill of being able to push beyond their limit?
But the big thing I did with it, I learned to do some visualization, and I didn't realise how effective that was until after this all. So while I was doing no running, just training, I'd do a long run. I'd learned from there's a fellow, Mark Devine, who's an ex-Navy SEAL, US Navy SEAL. He'd come from a yoga and martial arts background before joining the Navy SEALs. And then obviously those guys, were learning to breathe and control breathing underwater, and military snipers do the same thing. And so this box breathing method, and while I was inhaling over 5 and holding your breath for 4 to 5 seconds, you're seeing your goal, and you whatever the goal was, or the achievement. So I was visualizing running in at a ridge, one of the steepest ones, going, right, this is me, and I'm thinking of it, and I'm seeing it, these pictures in my head. And then as I exhale, you'd see yourself executing it, and inhale, and what was the next one? Was running, crossing Brown River. It was a river crossing. I mean, the water's raging, so normally we hook up a rope and to get people across on the rope, but obviously doing that on my own I had to pick an entry point and an exit point to get out on. So I was visualizing myself doing all that while I'm breathing in, and as I'm exhaling, seeing myself executing it. And I think when the time came to do it, I'd already been there. I'd already done this. So I was calm. I was in a calm state. And even though I was working at a high threshold, my head state was calm. So my decision making was clear. And I was able to execute. And mate, I've continued that now. Even times when being here coaching, frustrated, or when we first came, doing all our admin for the banking and sorting our house and cars and things like that, and just going, right, I'm just going to remain calm here and breathe. It's all good. It's going to work out because we understand what we want to do or we need to do. Yeah, mate, I do it now all the time. Do it when I'm in the morning, get up in the morning and just breathe for a couple of minutes, work out what my goals are for today, what do I need to execute, and see yourself doing them. And maybe that's helped me massively. And I think for me, it's given me real clarity in where I want to go now in life, things I want to do with the girls, the family, what we want to do. Mate, and there's a lot into it. I was still reading a lot about that and researching stuff. I'm not an expert in it, but there's science around it that backs it up. It says it works, and and it's not something new. It's actually been around for a long time, Hutch. And so, mate, for all you guys out on the property and so forth, I don't know, times when you're fencing or something, you're probably ready to lash out because something's not going right, take some time just to breathe, reset yourself. And there's a calmness that comes over you when you do it. I haven't gone full meditative, sitting down with my legs crossed. Mate, there's a lot in it. And I think, everyone can benefit from it. Everyone.
You're so accurate there, Ricky. There is no doubt that there's real science behind visualization now, and certainly, and even for farming leaders, it's probably not something that has been spoken about, but certainly within our community, visualization and pursuit of that clarity is such a key to unlocking results and achievement, both as a business owner and as a human. So thank you for sharing that. You touched on morning rituals, Ricky. How important are they in pursuit of high performance, in your opinion?
Mate, that's huge for me. Discipline in the morning, creating my morning routine. Yeah, that sets me up. So I know, Hutch, you and I have spoken a lot about this over the years, and mine's changed, but certainly the same elements are there. There's exercise. There's a bit of learning time for me, and there's just a bit of, I do visualization. So, mate, mine is 60 minutes. I punch out 20 minutes of high intensity exercise of the morning now. Do 20 minutes whether I do listening to a podcast or just reading. 20 minutes of writing down my daily routine, mate, in terms of what needs to be done today, who needs me on my A game. There's a couple of questions that I ask myself that I write down. One of them is, if I was a high performance coach, coaching myself, what would you be telling yourself? I have the same answer for that every day, but I still write it down, and it's a thing that I picked up from a course that I was doing years ago, and got told was hell on earth would be meeting the person you could have been. I think the wise man, maybe on the end of the screen, might have actually told me that. Actually, I can't remember where we got it from, but you and I have spoken about it, obviously, and I think of that all the time. I thought, oh, geez, imagine meeting with someone that you go, wow, that was meant to be me, and why didn't I push that little bit hard, or why did I give up? So yeah, that's a driver for me, mate. Big. And during the lockdown period, that was big. We did that with the girls. So it was like, kids had to log online in your virtual classroom at 9 o'clock, log on the teacher. And I was like, right, so before then, what do we need to do? So get up, let's go. We're up, we're going to go and do morning exercise. Have breakfast together. Let's just sit down and read a book, something totally different, not something school involved. Go and read the kids are into the Japanese animation is big up here, Japanese comic books and so forth. Go and do that, and then then we're set up for the day, and log off at the end of the day was family time. Cool. Go down to the river or do those things. So, yeah, mate, for me, that morning routine is the platform, and it's the platform to launch yourself from every day. And I think you've got to have that. Yeah, there's got to be some form of exercise in it. There's got to be some form of self-time and a bit of learning.
Thank you, mate. Hell on earth is meeting the person that you could have been. It's a really powerful statement, and thank you for reminding me of that. I remember hearing that 10 years ago from one of my mentors, Keith Cunningham, and I do really appreciate you reminding me of that, Ricky. It's just fantastic. So, mate, just in finishing, and there's other parts to your career that we haven't even touched on. Playing the bugle at the MCG and at Canberra on Anzac Day and in so many other locations. I was lucky enough to have my family only 4 weeks ago now, Westy, dial into a Zoom call where Ricky was belting out the last post, standing on the Tokyo River with his family. It was beautiful. So, Ricky, there's so many other achievements that no doubt you must be very proud of. In all that you have achieved, mate, what are you most proud of when you look back at Kokoda, kayaking, your musical career, your martial arts and elite special forces career, and now coaching rugby? What are you most proud of?
Wow, mate, that's a tough question. It's a good question. I probably look at it and think that, oh, mate, I'm proud that I've been able to do a lot of things, and they've all been enjoyable. Up until this time, mate, I went with the flow. Opportunities presented themselves, and I just grabbed them, and delved into them with a little bit of unknown, but remained disciplined to see them out, you know. And that's given me clarity, I think, for what I really want to achieve now and where I want to go. What am I most proud of? It's having no regrets, mate. No regrets in just doing it.
Nice.
Because there's been some tough ones. You know, there was some really robust times as well. So, but learned a heap from them to come out better. Having no regrets and just chasing it. Yeah, definitely.
Cool. So 2 final questions, Ricky. Mate, I'm going to start asking these of all my interviewees on this podcast, just in finishing. My first one's, what's the best piece of advice that you've been given by a mentor?
Not a mentor as such, but one thing that resonated with me ever since I was really young, mate, Dad used to always take me to the rugby, and I had an autograph book. I used to collect autographs, and I had some names, like big names, people like from sporting personnel to mainly sports people. But Alan Jones had just finished coaching the Wallabies, I think it was, during that time. Anyway, my dad had been taught by him at grammar up in Toowoomba. Anyway, he knew Dad well, and Dad had done some other things with him. He wrote me an autograph. I'll never forget. It said, "Dear Ricky, keep aiming for the top and never give up. Regards, Alan Jones." I had to get Dad to explain it to me exactly. Yeah, and mate, I've kept that. Yeah, I just thought that was really cool. Keep aiming for the top and never give up. For me, I don't know what the top is yet, but I know that there's a number of steps for me to where I want to go. Yeah, just keep chasing, never give up.
Nice. Thanks, Ricky. So finally, what advice would you give to a younger Ricky? What would you say to someone? What would you say to yourself if you happened to run into you 20 years ago?
Mate, it was probably slow down and enjoy the moment. Yeah. I was pretty busy. Busy and chaotic. Yeah. Slow down and enjoy the moment. Stay in the moment and enjoy the now. Definitely. Because look back on time service, mate, I had some cracking times with many things, whether it's sporting or music, whatever it be. But yeah, just really enjoy those because, they were a privilege. They were a real privilege. So yeah, enjoy the moments.
Ricky, we've covered a lot of territory in this conversation, and I always really enjoy catching up with you. My sincere thanks for your time.
My pleasure, mate. Thank you so much, and I hope it's a benefit for all your academy members, mate, and the Farmers Own Academy. And mate, you're doing great things, so keep up the work, buddy. Wonderful to chat.
Thank you, mate. So perhaps all of us have sort of a few people in our lives that genuinely inspire us to be better humans. And for me, Ricky's very much one of those. He's just achieved so much in his life already, in so many areas, and he does really represent what it is to pursue that high performance mindset and to lead by example. Such an impressive character with such an established career. It's within that in mind that I hope that is of real value to all of you. We've touched on what it is to support high performing teams, the importance of communication, and how to set challenges and develop and establish that mindset of achievement, and right through to morning rituals and the importance of visualization. So we've just covered such an important range of topics. Again, Ricky, thank you so much for your time. And to all our listeners out there, thank you. And we'll look forward to checking in with you again in coming weeks. Take care and bye for now.